However brave we may claim to be in life, there is no denying the fact that we all have some particular fear which we would like to avoid. They may be fear of heights or spiders, but they are very real. But then there are some who develop a phobia for the strangest of things. Let's take a look at some of them now. Number 26. Chromatophobia. When the world of cinema finally welcomed its colored version, we were all happy, except for a few who suffer from a condition called chromatophobia. It is basically living in a fear of color. Yes, color, of any kind. So basically, they need to keep themselves away from almost everything. The severity ranges from a particular color to really bad cases where every color is a nightmare. Number 25. Somnophobia. Well, this one is a particularly nasty one to have. It basically means that the person suffering from it is scared of going to sleep. It is different from insomnia, where people cannot fall asleep. Those suffering from somnophobia are actually mortally scared of sleeping. Many believe that they will die in their sleep, while many others are scared of the dreams. Somnophobia has a genetic predisposition, although trauma can also lead to its onset. Number 24. Omphalophobia. Birth is a tricky time for all of us. After 9 months inside, coming out into the world will definitely need some coping. So much so that people develop a huge fear of their belly buttons because of it. Why? Because the umbilical cord, which is basically a reminder of the process of birth, is connected through the belly button. Known as omphalophobia, it makes the person feel highly uncomfortable in the presence of navels, so much so that they cannot even watch their own. Number 23. Papaphobia. God is supposedly the one you should turn to when looking for strength to fight fear. But when you become fearful of the house of God itself, there really is not much one can do. Known as papaphobia, a person gets scared of everything that has to do with papacy or the Vatican. While it is not really clear what drives this really rare phobia, one wonders if the Crusades had anything to do with it. Number 22. Paganophobia. While there is no doubt that beards do enhance the look of men, there are some men who stay away from it. Women too, but there are none who are actually scared of beards unless they are suffering from paganophobia. The fear of beards probably has its roots in OCD, with many considering that beards tend to be unhygienic. Whatever the reason, we really cannot avoid beards, can we? After all, Santa without that thick white beard wouldn't look so cute now, would he? He'd look kinda creepy. Number 21. Numerophobia. None of us really like numbers, and we couldn't really be happier when school was over, and we did not have to deal with numbers every day. Of course, some of us liked numbers and became accountants, just as some of us really could not stand numbers because we were scared of them. Numerophobia is a condition where a person is extremely afraid of numbers, and getting through the mathematics period was a nightmare, quite literally. Some are afraid of specific numbers like 13 and 666, while others are scared of just about any number. Number 20. Trypophobia. The people who suffer from this phobia are scared of small holes. It is usually because they think they're dangerous, as it can hardly be ascribed to the fact that they could fall into it. Things like honeycombs and sponges scare them badly. So if you think your kid is scared of SpongeBob, just make sure they do not have trypophobia. Number 19. Nomophobia. Considering that mobile phones have become an integral part of our lives, it is natural that we could all feel a little queasy when we're out of coverage. But some people take this to another level as they start experiencing panic attacks when there's no coverage. They're the ones who suffer from nomophobia. Guess that adventurous little trek is not made for them. Number 18. Hylophobia. Trees are usually beautiful to look at. They have a very calming effect, but turns out there are people who cannot stand the sight of them because they are hyper scared. Be it woods, forests, or single trees even, they just cannot come face to face with one if they suffer from hylophobia. Guess the reason is that woods are generally associated with witches in storybooks. Number 17. Turophobia. Well, who doesn't like cheese? It's simply delicious and makes almost any food taste better. But that does not mean that all of us like it. Those who suffer from turophobia have an innate fear of cheese. And while some of us have an aversion to particular varieties, some people are just scared of any cheese. Guess they would be the best people to share diet plans with. Number 16. Globophobia. Globophobia is when people have a fear of balloons in general, or from balloons popping. In any case, they would absolutely be the last person you should call for a kid's party, or they might have a fit and spoil the party. Number 15. Ergophobia. While it is something we would all like to have, it is not a very practical thing to suffer from. Ergophobia is the fear of work, which basically means that work environments or looking for employment scares them senseless. I wonder if they can line up at the unemployment office. Number 14. Sanguivore-phobia. It is very natural to have this phobia. After all, it's the fear of vampires. But while most of us know that they are not real, it is pretty easy to ignore that fear. But some of us suffer from sanguivore-phobia, which means that they have a fear of blood eaters, and it is not easy to convince them that vampires aren't real. Number 13. Anthophobia. Flowers are pretty and fresh and are the perfect thing to get someone you love. But if you're dating someone who has anthophobia, better luck for something else, because they are scared of flowers and even the petals and stems. So if you're looking for that fancy proposal with rose petals, just ensure your partner is not anthophobic. Number 12. Penthorophobia. Meeting mother-in-laws is usually a harrowing experience for everyone. But then, there are more than enough examples of mother-in-laws being the sweetest people alive. Unfortunately, it will not matter much if you suffer from penthorophobia, as then you are just extremely scared of them, and no amount of niceness will change that. So, just in case you do suffer from penthorophobia, look for an orphan to date. Number 11. Chromatophobia. If you ever find yourself in a position where you have to borrow money, we advise you to go look for someone who suffers from chromatophobia. Why? Because they are so scared of money that they will probably not ask for it back. They just cannot tolerate having excess money on them. Number 10. Anatidaephobia. This is a strange one to have. People who suffer from anatidaephobia are just insanely scared of ducks watching them. If they feel they are under observation by a duck, they are simply incapable of doing anything. And this does not extend to chickens or rabbits, just ducks. So if you ever have rubber ducks in your washroom, you can be pretty sure that no one with anatidaephobia is ever gonna use your washroom. Number 9. Genophobia. Going down on a knee and proposing is an exceptional experience for everyone. But then, there are some who would just be mortified of it. Those who suffer from genophobia have a deep fear of knees, be it their own or someone else's. Guess no grand proposals from them. Number 8. Philophobia. If you have ever been in love, you know how it is a magical experience. Unfortunately, there are those who suffer from philophobia and have an irrational fear of falling in love. They just cannot stand it and will go any lengths to avoid falling in love, which is probably why they generally end up alone. Number 7. Catophobia. Losing hair is a terrible thing to experience, as it reminds us that we're getting old. However, for those suffering from catophobia, it is an even more harrowing experience because they are scared of loose or detached hair. But there are also extreme cases where people are just terrified of even the hair on their own bodies. Number 6. Coulrophobia. Given the number of scary clowns that have featured on television, films, and even real life, it is no wonder that many kids have developed a fear of clowns, known as coulrophobia. This fear is so great that even a simple encounter with a clown can send them into a tizzy. Number 5. Neophobia. All of us are happier when things just keep happening the way they always have. Newer things come with changes, and not all of us like that, even though they may be exciting. This is especially true in the elderly, which is perhaps why some of them suffer from neophobia, which is a deep-rooted fear of anything new. It probably has a lot to do with parting from the old things, but still, it's a very sad thing to suffer from. Number 4. Decidophobia. Well, as the name suggests, those who suffer from this are mortally afraid of making decisions. Even simple things like which turn to take is a difficult task for them, as they have to face their fears. Which is why they end up having sucky lives where others are more or less making all their decisions for them. Number 3. Gephorophobia. If you suffer from gephorophobia, make sure there are no rivers close to where you're staying, because you would not be able to cross them. Gephorophobia is the fear of bridges, and it is apparently more common than we thought, because there are cities in the world where you can actually hire someone to drive your car across the bridge. Number 2. Phagophobia. If you suffer from this, well, then you also suffer from sheer bad luck. Phagophobia is the fear of swallowing things, and that just means that you find eating a horrifying task. Those who suffer from phagophobia are known to experience weight loss and malnutrition. Not surprising considering that you would find eating a daunting task. Number 1. Phobophobia. Well, this one just takes the cake. Of all the weird phobias to have, this one is pretty much up there at the top. Phobophobia is the fear of developing any phobias. And considering the number of weird phobias on just this list itself, they would probably be scared of interacting with just about anything, as it might just give them a phobia. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you know someone who suffers from any of these phobias, do let us know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to our channel for free for instant updates on our latest videos.